What have you done in the U.S. Senate to rectify this inequity?
Senator?
Yes. Well, for the first time, finally, in the last Farm Bill, we, working together with my colleague, Senator Feinstein, we were able to get the first recognition that our specialty crops need to take a place in the Farm Bill. We grow 300 different products in our state, and for the first time, we were able to do that. Now, I think there are very big subsidies going to ethanol, going to corn that don't make any sense, and I fought hard to change those. But I really think there is a change. We have, in fact, limited some of the subsidies. We have said if you're a great big giant farm and you're not a family farm, you're not going to get these subsidies. And I will tell you something else Senator Feinstein and I are doing. We want to make sure that the estate tax does not kick in for a family farm where the family continues the farming. If you're a huge farm, that's a different story, and you're an agribusiness, that's different. But if you really are a family farm, then you shouldn't have to pay that estate tax, because we want to encourage those farms to continue.
Ms. Fiorina, your reply?
You know, it's a lot of great words, but in the real world, actions speak louder than words. Senator Boxer has voted against death tax relief 18 times. Her track record is very clear. And while our 88,000 farms here in California, most of them family-owned, struggled with water, with a lack of water, Senator Boxer refused to lift a finger. As chairwoman of Environment and Public Works, she could have put an amendment forward to waive a biological assessment to turn the water back on in our Central Valley. She refused. When a colleague put that amendment forward, she voted against it. When Senator Feinstein stepped forward to put an amendment on the table that would have waived that assessment and to provide needed water, she pressured her colleague to drop that amendment. Here is the truth. Central Valley struggles with record unemployment. They need water. And Senator Barbara Boxer, the chairwoman of Environment and Public Works, has stood in their way, and she has over and over again refused to give them death tax relief.
Time is up. Our next viewer question, and this is for you, Carly Fiorina. It comes from Tracy Hollifield, a Democrat from Oakland. And I think it has to do with guns and airplanes, something you talked about in a primary debate.
Yeah.
I read earlier that you're in favor of the people on the no-fly list to have guns. I'm a resident of Oakland, and that doesn't sit well with me at all. Please explain your stance.
Well, I know it sounds so strange, but let's talk about the no-fly list for a moment. My sister-in-law was on the no-fly list. My friend of 20 years' husband was on the no-fly list. Edward Kennedy was on the no-fly list. The no-fly list isn't particularly well managed. People who shouldn't be on it are on it, and people who should be on it, like the Christmas Day bomber who almost made it out of the country, wasn't on it. Here's the truth. We should not be taking constitutional rights away from citizens and at the same time giving constitutional rights to terrorists. And that's exactly what Barbara Boxer is in favor of doing. Barbara Boxer agrees that the vast majority of crimes committed with a gun are committed by criminals who have broken laws to acquire their gun. So let us prosecute those laws. Let us prosecute those criminals. But let us not deny law-abiding citizens their constitutional rights and instead give constitutional rights to terrorists, as Senator Boxer would like to do.
Senator, your reply?
It's hard to know how exactly to start, but let me say this. It's shocking to me that my opponent would say, if you are on that no-fly list, there's only a few thousand. I'm sure that if your sister wanted a gun, they would look and they would see she could have that. If, in fact, she lived in California, she'd have to go to the local sheriff. But it seems to me, as someone who authored a bill with a Republican colleague, which became the law, that says pilots who are trained have a right to carry a gun in the cockpit because there's so much concern by the pilots that they be able to take action. That's where you want to have a gun on the airplane, not giving it to people who are on the terrorist watch list. When I saw my opponent say that, I was watching it, it was in a debate, and Tom Campbell, who she was running against in the primary, he doesn't get very excited. And for the first time in my life, I saw him get excited when she said this. And he said, "Oh my goodness." And that was for him really getting excited. So I think that is so out of step, it is so out of touch, and having that kind of view in the United States Senate just is going to harm us. It's going to make us less safe. That's what it's going to do.
Unbelievably, we're out of time for full questions with full answers, but let me just ask something real quick. If you could answer quickly, and Senator, you could get a quick rebuttal. If I understand correctly, you're also for allowing the assault weapons ban to disappear. Is that correct?
I think it's crystal clear that we have loads of laws, and most of the time, criminals are breaking those laws, and we are curtailing citizens' lawful rights to carry guns. The assault weapons ban is extremely arbitrary in what qualifies as an assault weapon. And let me just say that Senator Boxer, I don't know, perhaps she's truly confused, or perhaps she's just trying to create rhetoric, but the no-fly list and the terrorist watch list are quite different things.
We're really tight. I want to make sure the Senator has time for a quick response.
Well, yes, the assault weapons ban has been in place in California since the 1980s. So to go back to that dangerous yesterday makes no sense at all. It has bipartisan support. And also, my colleague, Senator Feinstein, has worked so hard to get that assault weapon ban to be in place nationally. And I've been her strong supporter in that. And I hope I can go back, because we want to have our streets safe.
Okay, we're now going to shift to closing statements. And Ms. Fiorina, you go first. You get 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for the privilege, truly, to be here and to have a great debate with you, Senator Boxer. I have traveled up and down this wonderful state, and I have been struck by her beauty and by the spirit of Californians. But I must say, I am also struck by the anger, the frustration, and yes, even the fear. I remember meeting the immigrant who had built his small business from the ground up, only to see it ruined with too much taxation and too much regulation. And I remember him looking at me and saying, "This is not the country I came to. My own government is destroying my livelihood." I remember speaking to the city councilman who talked about his struggles to keep his community together while they struggled with almost 40% unemployment. And I remember as well the woman who looked me in the eye and grasped my hand and said, "I have never voted before, but I am voting for you because I am afraid for my children's future. Promise me this, when you get to Washington, you will not forget us." We can turn our nation around. We can get it back on the right track. We can get our state on the right track. We can grow our economy. We can control government spending. But to do all these things, we must start by changing the people we send to Washington. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. And I pledge to you this: I will go to the U.S. Senate, and I will fight for the millions of Californians who love their country, who go about their business, who pay their dues, who serve their communities. You don't ask for frills or favors. You give a lot, you expect little. You are asking for one simple thing now: that we take our government back, make it listen, and make it work.
Senator, you now get 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity. I think you've seen here this is a very clear choice, and I'm going to run through some of those choices. This election is between someone who's fighting for jobs day in and day out, jobs right here in America, versus someone who, when she had the chance, laid off 30,000 workers and shipped jobs to China. This election is about someone who's working hard so that we can see the words "Made in America" again, versus someone who was proud of her time at HP when she stamped "Made in China," "Made in India" on her products. This is a choice, a clear choice, between someone who's fighting for taxes for the middle class and small business versus someone who is fighting for the wealthy, wealthy few, the billionaires, the CEOs. This is a big difference in clean energy. One of us is fighting hard to make California the hub of the new clean energy economy and the millions of jobs that go with it. The other is being supported by big oil and big coal. This is a choice between two people who differ on a woman's right to choose. I've worked my whole life to protect a woman's privacy and her health. My opponent would turn that woman into a criminal. This is a very clear choice between someone who has fought all her life to protect our coast and the 400,000 jobs that rely on a beautiful coast. The fishermen, the tourist industry, the recreation industry, and my opponent does not support the Boxer-Feinstein legislation to permanently protect that coast. And finally, this is a choice between a candidate who fought really hard for Wall Street reform to end that mess over there and someone who opposes that reform, and I think, frankly, acted just like a Wall Street CEO. What do I mean by that? Destroying jobs for Americans and taking it for yourself.
Senator,
I hope we don't go back
up.
to that.
So thank you both. Thank you, Senator Boxer, and thank you, Carly Fiorina. And we all apologize for not getting to more questions. We certainly would have liked to, but hopefully what we've talked about tonight will help people here and help viewers and listeners at home make informed decisions on what they should do on Election Day, November 2nd. So thanks to our panel of journalists, and I would like to thank everyone here at St. Mary's College for hosting this debate. So on behalf of KTVU Television, the San Francisco Chronicle, and KQED News, thanks for joining us, and good night.
Up next on C-SPAN, today's hearing of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission. Then Middle East leaders speak at the White House ahead of peace talks in Washington. And later, another chance to see tonight's California Senate candidates debate.